He wasn't looking for trouble, just trying to finish his shift and get home before sunset. But the moment he stepped onto that quiet street, eyes followed him, suspicious, judging, waiting. Within minutes, a single misunderstanding turned into an accusation, and an accusation into something far more dangerous. People who didn't even know his name decided he didn't belong there. And what they did next would change his life and theirs forever. But here's the part no one expected. The truth they tried to bury didn't stay buried. So the real question is, when the truth finally came out, why were they all so afraid of it?
It started like any other day for Marcus. He woke up early, packed his lunch, and headed to the small repair shop where he'd worked for years. Everyone knew him there. Quiet, dependable, the kind of man who never missed a shift. After clocking out, he took his usual shortcut through the old neighborhood, the same route he'd walked since he was a kid. But today, something felt different. A group of strangers stood near the corner store, their eyes following him a little too closely. He brushed it off. He'd learned long ago not to assume the worst. Still, that uneasy feeling lingered. And if Marcus had trusted it just once, he might have seen the danger waiting for him at the end of that street.
Marcus tightened his grip on his backpack as he walked, the uneasy feeling growing heavier with each step. The neighborhood wasn't unsafe, not in the way people imagined, but today every sound felt louder, every shadow longer, every stare sharper. He tried to keep his pace steady. He told himself he was overthinking. But then he heard it, the crunch of gravel behind him, slow, purposeful, not the casual rhythm of someone heading home. Someone was following him. Marcus glanced back. The same group that had been by the corner store was now a few yards behind, walking in a loose formation. Their eyes locked onto him, and this time he couldn't pretend it was harmless curiosity. "Yo, where you going?" one of them called, a sharp, mocking tone. Marcus didn't respond. He'd learned that silence was sometimes the safest answer. But silence didn't help. It only made them quicken their steps. The leader, a tall man in a jacket 2 sizes too big, moved ahead of the group and blocked the sidewalk. "Did you hear me talking to you?" he asked, stepping closer. His friends circled around, closing him in like a trap. Marcus swallowed hard. "I'm just trying to get home," he said softly. "Home?" The man laughed. "Funny, you don't look like you belong around here." The other smirked, nodding. There was that familiar sting disguised as a joke. Marcus tried to step around them, but one of the men shoved him back. "Relax," the leader said, raising his hands as if he were the calm one. "We're just making sure you ain't here to cause trouble." Trouble. That word echoed in Marcus's mind. It was never about trouble. It was about being seen as something he wasn't again. He tried reasoning. "I've walked this route since I was a kid. I know this area better than any of you." But the moment he said it, their expressions shifted. Challenge accepted. The tallest man stepped closer, so close Marcus could smell the alcohol on his breath. "Oh, so now you talking back?" He lifted his palms. "I'm not trying to—" Suddenly, a hand reached into Marcus's pocket, yanking out his wallet. "Let's see what you got," someone muttered. Marcus lunged forward instinctively. Bad decision. Instantly, 2 others grabbed his arms, pinning him. He struggled, panic rising in his chest. "Give it back, that's mine!" But his voice only made them laugh harder. Then the leader's eyes narrowed. "Why are you so nervous, huh? Got something to hide?" He held up the wallet, flipping it open. Inside, Marcus's ID, his work badge, his address. Proof of everything he said. But none of them even glanced at it, because this was never about proof. It was about power. A shout erupted from somewhere down the street, a woman yelling for them to stop. The group stiffened. They weren't expecting witnesses. And in that split second of hesitation, something shifted. Something Marcus could feel, but not yet understand.
Marcus didn't even see the punch coming. A fist crashed into his jaw, sending him stumbling backward into the edge of a parked car. The world spun. Voices blurred. The group closed in again, faster this time, angrier, as if the presence of witnesses had turned them desperate. "Don't move," the leader snarled, grabbing Marcus by the collar. "You think you can just walk around here like you own something?" Marcus struggled to breathe. He could feel his knees shaking, not from fear alone, but from the crushing weight of helplessness. He tried again, one last time to speak. "Please, I just want to go home." But before he could finish, flashing lights cut through the street. A police car screeched to a stop. For a second, Marcus felt hope, relief. Someone had seen. Someone had called for help. But the hope evaporated in the next heartbeat. The officers didn't look at the men surrounding him. They looked at him. Their hands went straight to their belts. "Step away from him," one shouted. Not to the attackers, but to Marcus. He froze, breath trapped in his chest. I'm the one being attacked," he tried to say, but his voice cracked. "Hands where we can see them." The second officer's voice boomed through the street, sharp enough to silence everything. Even the group stepped back, smirking, knowing exactly what was happening. Marcus raised his trembling hands, terrified that even the smallest movement could be misread. Behind him, phones were recording. People were whispering. The woman who shouted earlier kept yelling that they had the wrong man, but the officers didn't look her way. In that single, unbearable moment, Marcus realized he wasn't just fighting a group of strangers. He was fighting a system that saw him as the threat, even when he was the victim. The officers took another step closer, and with his back against the car, nowhere left to run, Marcus could only ask himself one question. Would this be the moment that decided whether he lived or became another name everyone learned too late?
The officers eventually lowered their hands, but only after several witnesses stepped forward, shouting, pointing, insisting they review the footage. One woman played her recording right in front of them, showing exactly what had happened from the very beginning. Only then did the tension shift. Only then did the officers finally see Marcus as the victim, not the threat. His attackers were questioned, detained, but the damage was already done. Marcus sank onto the curb, shaking as adrenaline drained from his body. He wasn't injured beyond bruises and cuts, but inside, something far deeper had shattered. He made it home that night, but the echo of that moment, the fear of being misjudged, misunderstood, and nearly erased, stayed with him. Days passed, yet he couldn't stop replaying the scene. Their hands on him, the officer's eyes, the disbelief that he had to prove he was worth protecting. Word spread quickly. Videos circulated. People rallied around him, demanding accountability. The incident became more than a neighborhood confrontation. It became a mirror, reflecting a reality many wanted to ignore. Marcus didn't ask to be a symbol. He didn't want the attention or the headlines. He just wanted to walk home, to exist, to be seen as human. But now his story was out there, one voice among thousands saying the same thing. This keeps happening, and it keeps happening for the same reason. Marcus eventually returned to work, to routine, to the life he had before, but he returned carrying a truth that could never be unlearned, a truth that demands to be heard. Because his story isn't rare, it isn't new, and it isn't over. The question we're left with, the one he still asks himself, is simple. How many more stories like Marcus's will be ignored before we finally decide that enough truly means enough? If you believe stories like his deserve to be heard, don't let this one end with you. Share it. Let the world see what too many still refuse to acknowledge.